Hello, soul family. What happens when a song reaches number one and the world forgets it ever existed?
Tell it like it is.
Not a forgotten B-side, not an obscure record. We're talking about songs that ruled the charts, filled jukeboxes, dominated black radio, and became part of everyday life.
Rescue me, or take me in your arms.
The 1960s gave us some of the greatest soul and R&B music ever recorded. But while some records became immortal, others reached the very top and somehow disappeared from the conversation.
Yeah, everybody tighten it up now. Come on, guitar. Tighten it up one time for me.
Today, we're bringing 10 of those forgotten number one R&B hits back into the spotlight, along with the stories of the artists who made them. And trust me, some of these songs are going to make you wonder how we ever forgot them. This is Retro Vinyl, where the stories behind the music never get left behind. Let's go back.
I remember when I used to play shoot 'em up.
Number 10, We're Gonna Make It, Little Milton, 1965.
We may not have a cent to pay the rent.
Before the blues is all right became his signature line, one guitarist from the Mississippi Delta had to fight his way to the very top of the charts with a song that spoke louder than the radio ever let on. In the spring of 1965, this soul-soaked blues cut climbed to number one on the Billboard R&B chart and held that spot for 3 straight weeks. It was Chess Records' first R&B number one since Chuck Berry, and it came from a man most people had already written off as just another bluesman. Born James Milton Campbell, he'd been discovered as a teenager by Ike Turner, then working as a talent scout for Sun Records, the same label that would sign Elvis Presley a year later. Milton's own stint at Sun never produced a hit, so he went out and built his own label instead, and as its head of A&R, he personally brought future blues legend Albert King into the studio. Underneath the horns and the shuffle beat, We're Gonna Make It carried a coded message of civil rights defiance, dropped onto black radio at the exact moment America needed to hear it. Milton never chased that sound the same way again, and the song that once outsold everything on Chess quietly slid off the radio, remembered mostly by the people who lived through what it was really about. Little Milton kept recording blues and soul for another 4 decades, until his death in 2005. He proved a coded message could top the charts. The next artist on this list proved a 14th child from a house with no piano lessons could write her way there too. Number 9, Make Me Yours, Bettye Swann, 1967. A teenager from a family of 14 children wrote her own way to the top of the charts, and then walked away from the music industry so completely that most of her fans assumed she was gone forever.
I don't care what nobody says. I want you for always.
In July of 1967, Make Me Yours reached number one on the Billboard R&B chart and climbed all the way to number 21 on the pop chart. It was the biggest hit of her career, and she'd written every word of it herself.
Now I want you to take full control.
Born Betty Jean Champion in Shreveport, Louisiana, she'd already tasted a small hit 3 years earlier with another self-penned song before this one finally broke through.
I need the love that only you can give.
Make Me Yours was recorded on a shoestring budget for a tiny independent label, powered by nothing but her own songwriting. and a voice critics still compare to the biggest soul singers of the era.
If I can't have it, I don't want to live, no.
Swann kept charting into the 1970s, but in 1980, following the death of her husband and manager, she retired from music at just 36 years old. She changed her name to Betty Barton, became a school teacher in Las Vegas, and never performed publicly again. One of the only female singer-songwriters to top the R&B chart in that decade simply closed the door and walked away. She proved a songwriter could outright the whole industry and still choose to disappear on her own terms.
To hold me with loving arms, make me feel secure and warm.
The next artist proved that leaving your own group behind could be the smartest move of your career.
Make me yours. Make me yours. You already claimed.
Fare thee well. I know you're leaving.
Number 8, He Will Break Your Heart, Jerry Butler, 1960.
He don't love you like I.
He left one of the most important vocal groups in soul history to go it alone, and his very first solo record went all the way to number 1, with his old bandmate quietly playing on the very session that beat his own group on the charts.
He wouldn't break your heart.
Jerry the Iceman Butler had already made history as the original lead voice of the Impressions, before he walked away to build a solo career in 1960. His gamble paid off almost instantly.
He's trying to tear us apart.
He Will Break Your Heart spent 7 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart, co-written with his old groupmate Curtis Mayfield, who is widely credited with playing guitar on the session. 2 childhood friends from Cabrini Green, proving they could still make magic apart.
He uses all the great quotations.
15 years later, a pop duo called Tony Orlando and Dawn covered the same song under a new title and wrote it all the way to number 1 on the pop charts, eclipsing Butler's original in the public memory almost completely.
He says the things I wish I could say.
Butler went on to serve for decades as a Cook County commissioner in Illinois before his death in 2022.
But he's had so many rehearsals.
If you're loving these forgotten number 1s, this is exactly the moment to hit that subscribe button, because Retro Vinyl digs up a lost soul classic like this every single week, and you do not want to miss what's coming next.
To him, it's just another play.
He proved a song could survive being erased by its own cover version. The next artist proved a record label could survive on nothing but 100 vocal takes and one dying producer's last great idea.
He don't love you like I. Oh, it's a last train to Jacksonville.
Number 7, Are You Lonely for Me, Freddie Scott, 1966. He was on track to become a doctor. Instead, he became one of the most powerful voices in deep soul, and it happened almost by accident.
Go on and cry. Go ahead and cry, baby.
Are You Lonely for Me spent 4 full weeks at number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart in early 1967. Written and produced by the legendary Burt Burns, Cissy Houston and the Sweet Inspirations sang backup on a record critics still call one of deep soul's finest achievements. Before any of that, Freddie Scott had actually been studying medicine at the University of Rhode Island and then Payne College in Georgia, fully intending to leave music behind for a career in healthcare.
Are you my sweet baby? Are you still?
He came back to singing instead, and years later, Burt Burns brought him to a brand new label called Shout Records, where Are You Lonely for Me reportedly took over 100 vocal takes to finally capture on tape.
I will never again desert you.
Then, on December 31st, 1967, Burt Burns died suddenly of heart failure at just 38 years old. Without him, Shout Records could not survive. and Freddie Scott's #1 hit became the label's high point and its epitaph in the very same breath. Scott passed away in 2007, remembered as one of soul's most underrated voices. He proved 100 takes could be worth it. The next artist proved that Philadelphia's entire sound could be born from one group's very first hit. Number 6. Cowboys to Girls, The Intruders, 1968. Would go on to build an entire genre from what they learned that day. Crossover hit for songwriters Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, the two men who would go on to define the Philadelphia soul sound. Intruders had been the first act Gamble and Huff ever signed to their fledgling label, scoring modest regional hits for 2 years before this song finally broke them wide open. And Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, while the group that started it all quietly faded into the background of the sound they helped invent. The whole city's sound could start with one group's lucky break. The next artist proved a country song from Nashville could cross every line the radio had ever drawn. Number 5. The Choking Kind, Joe Simon, 1969. A country song written for a country singer, crossed every line the radio had drawn, and it turned a struggling soul singer into a Grammy winner almost overnight. The Choking Kind spent 3 weeks at #1 on the Billboard R&B chart in 1969, after Waylon Jennings had already recorded the very same song as a country single 2 years earlier. Joe Simon's soul version sold over 1 million copies and went gold. Simon had been grinding through minor hits for years before disc jockey and producer John Richburg brought him to Nashville and started feeding him material straight from the country songwriting world. Written by legendary Nashville tunesmith Harlan Howard, The Chokin' Kind proved that soul and country shared the exact same broken heart. The record earned Joe Simon a Grammy Award for Best R&B Vocal Performance in 1970, his very first major honor. It became his signature song, yet outside of soul music circles, almost nobody remembers that a Nashville country song once ruled the R&B charts. Simon later became an ordained minister and passed away in 2021. He proved country and soul were never really separate. The next artist proved a label could lose everything and still be saved by one boogie beat. Number 4, Who's Making Love? Johnnie Taylor, 1968. Stax Records had just lost its biggest star, and the man who quietly stepped up to save the label had spent years living in the shadow of an even bigger legend. Who's Making Love reached #1 on the Billboard R&B chart and #5 on the pop chart in the fall of 1968, becoming Stax Records' best-selling single up to that point. It sold nearly 1 million copies in its first year alone. Johnnie Taylor recorded the song only months after Otis Redding died in a plane crash, and Stax lost its entire back catalog in a bitter split with Atlantic Records. Years earlier, Taylor had been handpicked by Sam Cooke himself to replace him as lead singer of the gospel group The Soul Stirrers, back when Cooke left gospel behind to chase pop stardom. Taylor reportedly hated the track at first, calling it the Boogity Boogity song because of its fast, sly pace, and had no idea it would rescue the entire label. With Who's Making Love, he stepped out of the shadow of Sam Cooke and became Stax's new backbone, even though the song almost never got released. Taylor recorded for 3 more decades before his death in 2000. He proved the man who replaced a legend could become one himself. The next artist proved a hit could top the charts while its singer was lying in a hospital bed overseas. #3, Tighten Up, Archie Bell and the Drells, 1968.
Yeah, everybody tighten up now. Oh, come on now.
The song told the whole country he could dance just as good as he could walk, and for decades, an entire generation believed a war story about him that turned out to be completely untrue.
First, we tighten up on the drum. All right now, drummer, come on now.
Tighten Up hit #1 on both the Billboard Pop and R&B charts in the spring of 1968, selling over 1 million copies and becoming one of the very first funk records in music history. It's ranked among Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time.
I said, if you can do it now, I said you'll be out of sight.
Archie Bell wrote the track with fellow Drell Billy Butler, backed by a Houston instrumental group called the TSU Tornadoes, just before Bell was drafted into the Army in 1967. By the time the song hit #1, Bell was stationed overseas, sidelined by a leg injury from a truck accident on the German Autobahn. For decades, a rumor spread that Bell had been wounded in Vietnam combat. Bell himself later set the record straight in interviews. He was never in combat, and the injury happened nowhere near a battlefield. With Bell unable to tour, imposter groups posing as the Drells popped up across the country to cash in on the hit, and by the time he came home, the moment had already passed him by. He proved a myth could travel farther than the truth ever did. The next artist proved that a woman's voice could get mistaken for the biggest soul singer alive and never fully get her due.
Come on now, tighten it up now. Come on and tighten it up.
Come on and rescue me. Come on, baby, and rescue me.
#2, Rescue Me, Fontella Bass, Chess Records, 1965.
Rescue me. I want your tender charm 'cause I'm alone.
For decades, people swore this was an Aretha Franklin record. It was not, and the real singer spent years fighting just to get her name on it.
And I'm blue. I need you and your love too.
Rescue Me spent 4 weeks at #1 on the Billboard R&B chart in late 1965 and reached #4 on the pop chart, becoming one of Chess Records' biggest-selling singles ever. It was recorded in just 3 takes, backed by future Earth, Wind & Fire members Maurice White and Louis Satterfield.
Come on, baby, and rescue me. Come on, baby.
Fontella Bass helped write the song during a studio jam session, but the label credited only 2 staff songwriters, and Bass says she was promised credit that never came.
Come on and take my heart, take your love, and come.
It took over 2 decades and a lawsuit before she finally won a share of the songwriting royalties she'd been owed since 1965.
Can't you see that I need you, baby? Can't you see?
In 1990, sitting at home, she heard her own unmistakable voice playing in a National American Express commercial that had licensed the song without her knowledge, and successfully sued the company for it in 1993. Because her tone so closely echoed Aretha Franklin's, generations of listeners assumed Rescue Me was an Aretha record, even though it came out 2 full years before Franklin's own commercial breakthrough.
Take my hand, come on, baby, and be my man.
Fontella Bass passed away in 2012. She proved a stolen credit could eventually be won back. The final artist on this list proved that a broke New Orleans dock worker's biggest hit could become a lifeline for soldiers half a world away.
Life is too short to have sorrow.
Number 1. Tell It Like It Is, Aaron Neville, 1966.
Tell it like it is.
A young man who had drifted between odd jobs and jail time in New Orleans cut one song for a label so small it barely had an office. And that song became a #1 hit that nearly bankrupted everyone involved, including him.
Something to play with it. Go and find yourself a toy.
Tell It Like It Is reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and topped the R&B chart for 5 weeks in early 1967.
'Cause baby, my time is too expensive.
Selling over 1 million copies for a brand new independent label called Parlo Records. The only thing that kept it off the very top of the pop chart was the Monkees' I'm a Believer.
And I'm not a little poor.
The song became so massive, so fast, that it collapsed the tiny company that pressed and distributed it, leaving Neville with almost none of the money his own million seller had earned.
If you are serious, little girl.
Soldiers serving in Vietnam later told Neville the record was, in his own words, burning up over there, turning a broke New Orleans singer's biggest hit into a lifeline for homesick troops half a world away.
Don't play with my heart. It makes me furious.
Aaron Neville would not land another top 40 hit for nearly 23 years, one of the longest gaps between a first and second hit in Billboard chart history, until Linda Ronstadt brought him back in 1989 with Don't Know Much.
But if you want me to love you,
Neville went on to sell millions of records with his brothers as the Neville Brothers before his death in November 2025.
don't be ashamed, letting your conscience be your cat.
That's 10 #1 soul records that once ruled every radio in America and then quietly vanished. Not because they stopped being great, but because the world simply moved on and forgot to look back.
Oh, loving my darling, there is nothing I can do about it.
Are you lonely for me, baby?
Yes, I am.
And that's the strange thing about music history. Sometimes a song doesn't disappear because it wasn't good enough.
I never had love so sweet. I never.
Sometimes history simply moved on. A new sound arrives, a new generation takes over, an artist gets overlooked. And suddenly, a song that once sat at #1 becomes something only a handful of people remember. But these records matter because they are pieces of music history that never deserve to be forgotten. So, tell us in the comments, which song surprised you the most?
I'm not trying to run your life. Yours is up to you. Are you?
And what forgotten 1960s soul record deserves to be remembered? It might just become our next Retro Vinyl story. Subscribe to Retro Vinyl for more stories behind the music we still love today.
Don't make love, sure can't hurt.
This is Retro Vinyl, where the stories behind the music never get left behind. Until next time, keep the needle on the record and the volume where it belongs.